Level 1. The applicant. You are 24. You didn't come here from nowhere. You spent 3 years as a special agent first. Criminal investigations, surveillance work, evidence collection. You wore a suit more than you wore boots. You were good at it. That's not why you're here. You're here because 18 months ago you watched a news report about a hostage situation in a federal building in Atlanta. You watched the way the men who went in moved. Not fast. Not dramatic. With a kind of controlled precision that looked almost slow until you realized nothing about it was slow. You decided that night. You haven't changed your mind since. The HRT application process begins with a fitness test that removes approximately half the applicants before they reach anything that requires a decision. The standards are published. They are not negotiable. 40 pull-ups. 80 sit-ups in 2 minutes. A 1.5-mile run in under 9 minutes. Those are the minimums. The men who get selected average considerably better. You average considerably better. What the fitness test doesn't measure is what the rest of the process is designed to find. The written psychological evaluation is 3 hours. The panel interview is conducted by 4 senior HRT operators who ask questions with no correct answer and watch what happens to your face when you realize that. You are asked what you would do if a hostage taker executed a hostage during negotiations you were part of. You are asked how you handle sustained operational stress over multi-day deployments. You are asked whether you have ever been in a situation where following orders was the wrong thing to do and what you did. You answer everything directly. You don't perform certainty you don't have. You don't hedge when you are certain. The panel makes notes. They don't tell you how it went. 14 days later a letter arrives. You are invited to new operator training. Quantico, Virginia. Report date in 6 weeks. You read the letter twice. Then you go for a run. Level 2. The new operator trainee. You are 25. New operator training is 6 months. It begins on a Monday in February and it does not pause for weather, injury, or the particular kind of exhaustion that makes men question their decisions. There are 19 of you. The instructors know all 19 of you will not finish. They are not trying to reduce that number. They are simply running the program. The number reduces itself. Your lead instructor is a man named Senior Operator Marsh. He has been on HRT for 11 years. He does not raise his voice. He does not need to. When he speaks, the room adjusts. The curriculum covers every domain simultaneously. Tactical shooting, thousands of rounds per week. Close quarters battle. Explosive breaching. Sniper fundamentals. Rappelling and fast rope insertion. Diving. Tactical driving. Medical, not just first aid but trauma management under fire, the specific skills required when a teammate goes down in a denied environment and evacuation is minutes away at minimum. Week 3 introduces something nobody prepared you for. Sleep deprivation as a training condition. Not accidental sleep deprivation, engineered, sustained, monitored. 72 hours with minimal sleep, then complex decision-making exercises. Not to break you. To show you what you are when the padding is removed. Some men become aggressive. Some become passive. Some become slower. You become quieter. Marsh notes this without commenting. By week 8, 4 trainees have withdrawn. 1 injury, 2 who decided the life wasn't what they'd imagined, 1 who simply stopped showing up one morning. His locker was cleaned out by noon. Training continued. The final exercise is a 5-day field problem. Simulated hostage rescue scenarios in a series of environments, an aircraft, a warehouse, an urban building complex. Real-time intelligence that changes. Simulated casualties. Everything going wrong at the scheduled time. You perform well in the building complex and make one decision in the aircraft scenario that your evaluator pulls you aside to discuss. You held in the doorway for 3 seconds before breaching. You explain your reasoning, an angle issue, a potential crossfire with your breach partner. The evaluator listens. He says, the reasoning was correct. The hesitation was visible. You will learn to do both at the same time. He is not wrong. You graduate. 13 of 19. There is no ceremony. Marsh shakes your hand and tells you your probationary year starts Monday. You nod. You already know what that means. Level 3. The probationary operator. You are 26. You are on the team. You are not of the team. That distinction will take a year to close. HRT is based at Quantico. It is a unit of 50 operators organized into 2 assault elements, gold and blue, and a sniper element. You are assigned to blue. Your team leader is a senior operator named Kowalski who has 12 years on the team and the particular economy of movement that comes from having done every drill 10,000 times. He does not waste gestures. He does not waste words. He evaluates you by watching how you train, not by asking how you feel about training. Probationary operators are never the primary decision maker in any scenario. You are always the third man in the stack, the support position, the role that requires you to do your job with precision while more experienced operators make the calls. This is not demotion. This is how institutional knowledge transfers. You are learning a culture, not just a skill set. Your first real-world deployment comes in month 4. A federal judge's family member has been taken in a kidnapping case with organized crime connections. HRT is forward deployed as a contingency, not to execute, to be ready to execute if negotiations break down. You spend 31 hours in a staging area 2 miles from the target location. You run through the breach plan 7 times in a parking garage they've commandeered as a rehearsal space. The structure is close enough to the actual building that the muscle memory will transfer. You rehearse the specific hallway, the specific door, the specific positions. You know the room before you've been in it. The negotiation team resolves it. The family member is released unharmed. The kidnapper surrenders at 4 a.m. to an FBI agent who doesn't carry a rifle. You drive back to Quantico in the support vehicle. You and a fellow probationary operator named Chen sit in silence for most of the drive. Somewhere around hour 2, Chen says, "Do you feel cheated?" You think about it. "No," you say. He nods. "That's the right answer," he says. "I know," you say. You are certified as a full operator at month 11. Kowalski tells you on a Tuesday afternoon in the equipment room. No speech. He says, "You're off probation as of Friday. Good work." Then he walks out. You stand in the equipment room for a moment. Then you go back to the range. Level 4. The operator. You are 27. You are now a full HRT operator. The probationary qualifier is gone. What remains is the work. The work is not what people imagine. It is not a sequence of dramatic deployments. It is thousands of hours of training interrupted occasionally by the real thing. You shoot approximately 1,000 rounds per week on average. You breach rooms until the movement is below conscious thought. You train in aircraft mock-ups, ship mock-ups, bus mock-ups, train mock-ups. You fast rope from helicopters in daylight and in total darkness. You dive in cold water and warm water. You rehearse for scenarios that may never come and for scenarios that will come next week in a form nobody predicted. Your first direct action deployment as a full operator is a federal fugitive barricade in rural Montana. A man with felony charges and known access to firearms has barricaded himself in a remote property. He has made statements suggesting he will not come out. Local law enforcement established a perimeter and within 6 hours it became a federal matter. Your element deploys. You spend the first 24 hours in a forward observation position on a ridgeline 300 meters from the property. Cold. Motionless. Watching through an optic. Nothing happens. Day 2. Nothing happens. You eat cold rations. You rotate sleep in 4-hour blocks. On day 3, the subject emerges from the property. He is not armed. He sits on his porch and places his hands on his knees. A negotiator walks up the driveway. 30 minutes later he is in custody. You break down your position, pack your equipment, walk back to the staging area. Total time, 68 hours. Shots fired, 0. Kowalski asks you in the debrief how the observation position felt. You say it felt correct. He says, "Correct how?" You say, "I had eyes on the door the whole time. If the situation changed I had the information to call it." He nods. "That's what it's for," he says. You are deployed 11 more times in the next 2 years. Most of them end the same way. Containment, negotiation, resolution. The machinery doing what it was built to do. Twice they don't end that way. You don't discuss those twice. Not publicly. In debriefs, yes. In procedural detail. That is where those events live. That is where they should live. Before we go further, comment what you want to see next. Hit that like button right now and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. We upload every single day. Level 5. The Sniper. You are 30. The selection for the Sniper element is internal. You don't apply. You are observed. Kowalski recommends you after watching your performance in a 2-day precision shooting exercise where your consistency under varied conditions, wind, distance, position, places you in the top 3 of the entire team. 3 weeks later you are told to report to the Sniper element for a 6-week evaluation. The Sniper element operates differently from the Assault element. The pace is slower by design. The patience required is absolute and not negotiable. Your lead Sniper instructor is a woman named Senior Operator Rains. 14 years total service, 9 on the Sniper element. She teaches with the specific economy of someone who has already decided that extra words are a liability. She tells you on the first day, a sniper's most important skill is not shooting. It is waiting without degrading. You will spend more time behind the scope seeing nothing than seeing something. The question is whether you are the same shooter at hour 70 that you were at hour 1. You spend 2 weeks learning stillness as a technical discipline. Position maintenance, breathing cycles, how to hold a target in your optic for 4 hours without your body announcing its preferences. Your spotter is an operator named Decker who has been in the sniper element for 3 years and communicates in the field almost entirely in single words and fractions of degrees. You learn his language inside 2 weeks. The legal threshold for a sniper engagement is exact and memorized. Imminent threat to life. No alternative means to stop the threat. Positive identification of the target. These are not guidelines. They are the criteria you run against every scenario, every time, without exception. You practice this in training until the process is below thought, not because you want to make it easy to shoot, but because when the moment arrives you need the criteria running automatically so your decision is made on fact, not adrenaline. Your first field deployment in the sniper role is a kidnapping in Phoenix. A child. You are positioned on a rooftop across from the house where the subject is holding her for 11 hours. Decker beside you the whole time. You acquire the target twice through a window. Both times the child is in your line of fire. You hold. You wait. On the third acquisition, the child has moved. The criteria run. You report the clean shot to the incident commander. The decision to take it is not yours alone. The order does not come. The subject exits the back door 20 minutes later with his hands up. The child walks out the front door with a negotiator. You unload your weapon on the rooftop. You hand it to Decker. You sit with your back against the parapet and look at the sky for a moment. Decker sits beside you and says nothing. After a while he says, "Good day." You nod. You know exactly what he means. Level 6. The team leader. You are 34. You are now responsible for 8 operators. That changes every calculation. Before, the question was always, am I doing this correctly? Now the question is, are they doing this correctly, and if they aren't, is that my failure or theirs, and what is the difference between those two things, and how do I close whichever gap it is? Your first team leader call-out is a prison riot situation in a federal facility in the Midwest. Correctional officers are being held. The facility has partially lost internal communications. Your team is one of 2 HRT elements on site. You have 45 minutes to develop a breach and rescue plan for a cell block you have architectural drawings for but have never rehearsed. You use all 45 minutes. You brief your 8 operators on the plan, then on the contingencies, then on what to do if both the plan and the contingencies fail and they are alone making decisions in a hallway without communications. You look at each of them when you say that last part. They look back. The operation takes 9 minutes. All 4 correctional officers are recovered. One operator, a probationary named Hess, takes a piece of flying debris to the face shield during the breach, not a weapon, a thrown object, and has to be pulled to cover for 30 seconds while he clears his vision. The plan accounts for this. Someone covers his position without being told. The wall holds. In the after-action report you write every operator's contribution clearly. In the section on team leader decisions you write 2 entries, the contingency planning that covered Hess's position, and the breach timing that you called 3 seconds earlier than planned based on a sound you heard from inside the cell block that turned out to be a correctional officer moving toward the door. You called it correctly. You note that it was partly instinct. You note that instinct built from 7 years of training is not the same as a guess. Your unit chief reads the report and circles that last sentence. He doesn't say why. Level 7. The senior operator. You are 38. The title senior operator carries operational authority and institutional responsibility simultaneously. You are now one of the people that probationary operators watch the way you once watched Kowalski. You understand now what he was doing. He wasn't performing. He was simply being the thing completely, and that completeness was the instruction. A new operator named Torres comes into the unit from the applicant pool, former Army Ranger, exceptional physical profile, technically precise. In training he is outstanding. In scenario work there is a pattern you notice in month 3. When the scenario breaks from the briefed plan, Torres accelerates. He moves faster, decides faster, commits faster. The technical execution remains sharp. But he is ahead of his information. You pull him aside after a Thursday exercise. You don't frame it as a criticism. You ask him to walk you through his decision at the second threshold, the moment the plan changed and he moved without calling it. He does. His reasoning is coherent. His timing was wrong by 4 seconds. You tell him the difference between those 4 seconds and what they cost him in information. He listens. He is not defensive. He asks you a question you didn't expect. How do you know when you have enough information? You think about it for a moment. You say, you never have enough. The question is whether you have the minimum. He writes that down. 3 months later you watch him in a scenario where the plan breaks apart in the first 30 seconds. He slows down. He gathers the minimum. He calls it. He moves. It's not perfect. It's right. You note it in his evaluation and say nothing to him directly. He finds out when he reads the eval. That's how it should work. Level 8. The supervisory senior operator. You are 42. You no longer deploy on every callout. This is the adjustment that takes longer than anything else in your career to make. You still train. You still qualify. You are still physically capable of everything the role requires. But your function has shifted from execution to architecture, the structure within which execution happens. Training cycles, qualification standards, equipment procurement, interagency coordination with HRT's partner units inside and outside the Bureau. You attend meetings in Washington where the language is not tactical. You represent HRT's capabilities and limitations honestly to people who would prefer a simpler version of both. A call-out occurs while you are in a coordination meeting at FBI headquarters. A domestic terrorism situation, a federal building, a subject with a device. Your team is deployed. Kowalski, now a team leader himself, is running the ground operation. You follow the operation on a secure feed from a conference room in Washington. You watch Kowalski make 3 decisions that you would have made differently. 2 of them work out correctly. 1 creates a brief exposure that resolves without incident. You write your assessment in a private document after the operation is complete. You share it with Kowalski in a one-on-one the following week. Not as a critique. As a conversation between 2 people who trust each other and want the unit to be better. He pushes back on 1 point. You listen to his reasoning. He is right. You update your document. This is how the unit improves. Not through formal review alone. Through 2 people in a room being honest about what they saw and willing to hear the other side. Level 9. The Assistant Special Agent in Charge. You are 46. You are now in command of HRT. 50 operators, support staff, an operational tempo that does not pause, and the specific weight of being the person whose name is on every deployment authorization. The job is 60% invisible. Budget cycles. Personnel reviews. Congressional briefings where you describe what your unit does in language calibrated to be accurate without being operationally specific. Interagency relationships with Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, the Secret Service Counter-Assault Team, units you train with, coordinate with, deploy alongside in scenarios that require more than one organization's capabilities. A situation develops in a western city. A foreign national with suspected intelligence connections has barricaded himself in a consular facility with 3 American citizens. Jurisdictional questions take 6 hours to resolve. By the time HRT has authorization to stage, the situation has been active for 8 hours. You are on the phone with the incident commander, with the State Department liaison, with your director. Simultaneously. You deploy your team. You do not deploy with them. You manage the operation from the command post, which is a converted conference room in a building 2 blocks from the target. You watch the feed. You listen to the communications. You trust the team leader on the ground, a senior operator named Park who has been doing this for 9 years and has better situational awareness than anyone in the command post. Park calls an approach modification at the 12-minute mark. A variable you didn't have in the plan. You authorize it in 4 seconds. The modification works. All 3 Americans come out. The foreign national is taken into custody. Afterward, at the command post debrief, someone asks you if you were nervous watching from the command post rather than being inside. You think about the question. You say, I was focused. There's a difference. They write it down. You're not sure why. Level 10. The last deployment. You are 52. You have been with HRT for 28 years. Your last formal deployment as a tactical officer is a training exercise, a joint HRT SEAL coordination scenario off the coast of Virginia. A ship mock-up on a barge in the Chesapeake Bay. Your role is observer-evaluator. You watch the current generation of operators move through the structure. They are good. They are very good. They are faster than you were at their age and they have better equipment and they have the benefit of 20 years of doctrine development that refined everything your generation learned the hard way. They also lack something that cannot be trained directly. They lack the accumulation of real decisions made in real places where the stakes were actual. That comes with time. They are getting it. You watch a young probationary operator named Walsh hesitate at a threshold. Not long. 2 seconds. You see his eyes moving, reading the room before he enters it. You see the moment the read completes and the movement begins. Controlled. Correct. The hesitation that was actually processing. You make a note that says, watch Walsh. Not a critique. A flag for the right reason. After the exercise you sit on the deck of the support vessel and watch the barge operators resetting the mock-up for the next run. Decker is there, retired 3 years now, brought back as a contractor for this evaluation. He hands you a coffee and sits beside you. You think about the child in Phoenix. About the 11 hours on the roof and the clean shot you reported and the order that didn't come and the child who walked out the front door. You think about Torres and the 4 seconds and the question you didn't expect. You think about the 4 operators from Blue Element who didn't come back from a deployment in your 8th year, a hostage rescue that went wrong in a way that no amount of preparation fully accounts for. You think about their names. You will always think about their names. You think about Kowalski walking out of the equipment room after telling you your probation was over. No speech. You were good enough. That was the whole message. Decker says, any regrets? You look at the barge. The operators running the next iteration. Walsh going through the threshold again. Faster this time. No, you say. That's the honest answer. Decker nods. He already knew. He asked anyway because some questions deserve to be said out loud even when the answer is obvious. 28 years. 50 operators in your unit at any given time. More hostages returned than you were ever told the exact number of. More situations that ended quietly than anyone outside the building will ever know about. More hours behind a scope or in a stack or on a rooftop than you could count. The work done mostly in the dark, by people whose names are not public, for outcomes that are reported as resolved without specifying how. You finish the coffee. You hand the cup back to Decker. You stand up and walk back to the evaluation table to write Walsh's report. There is still one more exercise to run.